Night swallowed the city in layers of glass and shadow. The convoy slowed as it approached the underground residence, headlights dimming automatically. Security gates slid apart with mechanical obedience. Everything about the place was designed to feel untouchable: thick walls, blind corners, silence that pressed against the ears. Inside the lead vehicle, CO Jamin didn't look at the screens. He watched reflections instead, movement caught in polished steel, the faint tremor in a driver's hand, the way tension always announced itself before danger did. "Status," he said. "All clear," came the reply. Too fast. Too rehearsed. Jamin exhaled through his nose. "Slow it down." The vehicle stopped completely. Behind the gates, a woman stood alone. She didn't wave. Didn't fidget. Didn't look relieved. She waited. The guards stepped out first, weapons lowered but ready. Protocol demanded caution even when the risk was labeled minimal. Especially then. "Name?" one of them asked. "Mara Lee," she said calmly. Her voice was steady. Not flat. Not rehearsed. Controlled. Jamin studied her from the car. She was dressed simply: dark coat, no jewelry, hair pulled back without care for appearance. Nothing about her screamed importance. And yet, she wasn't looking at the guns. She was looking past them. At exits. Angles. Distance. "Bring her in," Jamin said. The doors closed behind them with a muted finality. Lights adjusted automatically. The residence hummed back to life. As she walked, her steps matched the pace of the escort without being told. She didn't ask where she was going. That alone made Jamin glance again. They stopped at a secure corridor. Biometric locks. Facial scan. "Wait here," the guard said. She stopped instantly. Too instantly. Jamin stepped forward. Up close, she smelled faintly of rain and metal. Not fear. "You're the witness," he said. "Yes. You understand you're here because someone thinks you matter." "I understand I'm here because someone thinks I don't." That earned a pause. He studied her face for tells. Found none. "You'll remain inside this level until further notice," he said. "No devices. No contact. You eat when food is brought. You sleep when the lights dim. If you leave this corridor without authorization, my men will restrain you. If you resist, they will sedate you." She met his eyes. "And if someone comes for me?" "They won't." That was the lie they were both pretending to believe. She nodded once. Understood. As they turned away, alarms flared soft but sharp, slicing through the quiet. "Sector C," a voice crackled. "Motion anomaly." The guards reached for their weapons. Before anyone issued a command, she moved. Not toward panic. Toward cover. She stepped back into the shadow of the corridor wall, positioning herself where the camera blind spot began. Her body angled instinctively, weight shifted for balance. Jamin saw it. Every muscle in his body went still. "Who taught you that?" he asked quietly. She blinked. Looked at him as if realizing she'd revealed something. "I tripped," she said. "No," he replied. "You didn't." The alert cleared seconds later. False trigger. Harmless. But something had already cracked. Later, in the control room, Jamin watched the footage again. Slowed it down. Frame by frame. Witnesses didn't move like that. He pulled up her file. Sparse. Clean. Too clean. Education. Incomplete. Employment. Inconsistent. Travel history. Redacted beyond necessity. Someone had erased her edges. A junior officer leaned over. "Low priority, sir." "She's just collateral." Jamin didn't respond. Instead, he asked, "Who classified this file?" The officer hesitated. "It came pre-cleared." "That wasn't my question." Silence. Jamin closed the file. Across the residence, she sat alone at a narrow table, hands folded, breathing evenly. The room lights dimmed slightly, night cycle. She stared at the wall, not sleeping. Her mind replayed the moment she moved too fast. Mistakes got people killed. She rose quietly and crossed the room, pressing her palm against the glass. Somewhere above her, the city lived its life unaware. Footsteps approached. She didn't turn. "You should rest," Jamin said from the doorway. "I will," she replied. "When it's safe." He almost smiled. Almost. You don't trust us. I don't know you. That's the point. She turned then, eyes sharp but unreadable. Is it? He held her gaze longer than necessary. You'll be relocated in the morning, he said. Orders changed. Her expression flickered, just once. Why? Because someone tried to access your file from outside this network. That was all he said. That was enough. As he left, she whispered to the empty room, barely audible. Then they've found me. If this moment pulled you in, don't look away yet. Stories like this leave here. Subscribe to AFROSEOUL Tales. The relocation happened before dawn. No warning sirens. No raised voices. Just a quiet, controlled urgency that slipped through the residence like a change in air pressure. Lights brightened. Doors unlocked. Footsteps multiplied. She felt it before anyone told her. The sound of boots outside her door stopped short. A pause. Then the soft click of a lock disengaging. Get dressed, CO Jamin said. We're moving. She didn't ask where. That was the second mistake she almost made. Instead, she reached for her coat calmly, as if this were routine. As if being uprooted in the middle of the night by armed men was something she'd rehearsed for years. Because she had. The hallway was different now. Louder. Tenser. Men positioned at intervals that hadn't existed hours earlier. Compromised, she asked lightly. Jamin glanced at her. You listen too carefully. I listen when my life depends on it. He stopped walking. The corridor seemed to hold its breath. You don't know what your life depends on, he said quietly. She met his eyes. Neither do you. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then a voice crackled over comms. Vehicle ready. Jamin turned. Stay close. Do exactly what you're told. She smiled faintly. I always do. The underground garage smelled like fuel and cold metal. Engines idled low, restrained. The convoy was smaller than before. Faster. Less forgiving. As they moved, she counted turns without meaning to. Left. Right. Downward slope. Narrow ramp. A hand brushed her elbow as they loaded into the vehicle. Seatbelt, a guard muttered. She was already fastening it. Jamin noticed. The convoy rolled out into the city just as the sky began to pale. No sirens. No escorts. Just speed. Minutes passed in silence. Then, the first shot shattered the rear window of the last vehicle. Contact, someone shouted. The convoy split instantly, two cars peeling off in opposite directions. Tires screamed. Metal groaned. Jamin grabbed her shoulder, forcing her down as another shot rang out, this one close enough to feel. Glass sprayed. She didn't scream. She didn't freeze. She braced. That was the third mistake. Who's shooting? The driver barked. Unknown, came the reply. No visual. Another shot. Closer. Jamin leaned across her, shielding her with his body as the car swerved hard. Stay down, he ordered. I am down, she said sharply. But they're not aiming for the engine. He stilled. They're testing your response time, she continued, voice low, precise. They want you to accelerate. How do you know that? Because if they wanted us dead, we'd already be dead. The car lurched as the driver obeyed instinct, hitting the gas. The next shot hit exactly where she'd predicted, just behind the rear axle. Jamin swore under his breath. Change route, he snapped into the comms. Now. The shooting stopped as suddenly as it had started. The silence afterward was worse. They reached the new location 40 minutes later, an older structure, less visible, less comfortable. The kind of place you didn't bring people you planned to keep alive for long. As soon as the door shut behind them, Jamin rounded on her. You knew, he said. You knew where they'd shoot. She removed her coat slowly. I guessed. You guessed with military precision. She looked at him then. Really looked. You don't trust guesses, she said. Neither do I. He searched her face, hunting for cracks. Found none. Sit, he said finally. She sat. The room was bare. One table. Two chairs. No cameras she could see, but she felt them anyway. Jamin stood across from her, arms folded. Someone accessed your file, he said. From outside our network. She didn't react. They didn't read it, he continued. They checked if it was still there. That earned a flicker in her eyes. Just enough. They were making sure the lie held, she said. Whose lie? She leaned back. Yours. Or mine. Depends who you ask. His jaw tightened. You're not a witness, he said. No. You're not a civilian. No. He waited. She said nothing. Silence stretched until it became a weapon. Start talking, he said. She shook her head once. You won't like the answers. I don't need to like them. You might need to survive them. He stepped closer. You're not in a position to negotiate. Her gaze didn't waver. Neither are you. A guard appeared in the doorway. Sir. We traced the breach. Jamin didn't look away from her. And? It came from inside. That did it. He turned sharply. Who? Still narrowing it down. Jamin nodded once. Seal the building. The guard hesitated. With her inside? Jamin answered without thinking. Especially with her inside. When the door closed, she exhaled slowly. They're getting closer, she said. Who? He demanded. The people who don't miss. He laughed once. Not amused. You talk like you've met them. I've outlived them. That stopped him. He studied her the way one studies a blade, measuring weight, balance, intent. You're dangerous, he said. Only to people who underestimate me. Another voice cut through the room, overhead, distorted. Sir, you need to see this. Screens flickered to life on the far wall. A secure channel opened. A message scrolled across the screen. Not addressed to him. Addressed to her. She read it in silence. Jamin watched her face change, not with fear, but calculation. What does it say? He asked. She swallowed once. They know where we are, she said. And they're not coming for you. Then who? She met his eyes. They're coming to confirm. A timer appeared beneath the message. 10 minutes. Jamin's hand tightened into a fist. Confirm what? She stood. That I still exist. The lights flickered. Somewhere deep in the building, a door exploded inward. She turned toward the sound, already moving. Jamin realized, too late, that she hadn't been waiting to be protected. She'd been waiting for the hunt to reach her. The explosion didn't reach them. Not fully. It rippled through the building like a warning, concrete shuddering, lights flickering, dust raining softly from the ceiling as if the place were breathing out. Jamin was already moving. Down, he shouted, shoving her toward the wall as another blast echoed somewhere below. The sound was wrong. Controlled. Precise. Not chaos, calculation. She didn't resist. She dropped, rolled, came up behind the table, eyes scanning. Too fast again. Too clean. East stairwell, she said. They'll push from there first. Jamin froze for half a second. Then he was barking orders into his comms. East stairwell. Lock it down. No blind fire. Static answered him. Then screaming. The line went dead. His jaw tightened. He turned to her. You hear that? Yes. You know what it means? Yes. What? They're not trying to take the building, she said. They're trying to flush us. A gunshot cracked close. Glass shattered in the corridor outside the room. Jamin swore. Move. They slipped out through the side exit as alarms finally began to wail, too late, too loud. Smoke curled low along the floor, sharp and chemical. She covered her mouth instinctively, tearing a strip from her sleeve without looking. When she handed it to him, he hesitated. You carry that on you? I improvise. You do it like habit. Another explosion. Closer. The corridor split ahead. Left, she said immediately. Why? Right smells wrong. He didn't argue. They took the left passage just as the right side collapsed in a roar of fire and debris. Jamin felt it then, cold clarity. This wasn't coincidence. This wasn't luck. They burst into a stairwell. Emergency lights cast everything in red, turning faces into shadows. Down or up? He asked. She paused, listening. Then, neither. She reached for a maintenance panel, ripping it open with brute force that didn't match her frame. A service shaft yawned open behind it. Jamin stared. How did you know that was there? I read blueprints, she said, already climbing. When I don't trust exits. He followed without thinking. The shaft was narrow, metal rungs biting into palms as they climbed sideways, then down, then sideways again. Below them, Boots thundered past, unaware. They dropped out into a lower utility level, quieter, darker. For the first time since the attack began, there was a pause. Not safety. Just silence. Jaemin leaned against the wall, chest heaving. You're trained. She wiped soot from her cheek. I told you I wasn't a witness. You're more than a civilian, he pressed. She looked away. That answer was enough. Who are they, he asked. The ones who don't miss? Yes. She hesitated, just a beat too long. People who clean mistakes. He studied her profile in the dim light. And what mistake are you? Her voice dropped. Someone they couldn't control. A sharp noise crackled through the vents above them, metal scraping. She went still. They're listening, she whispered. Jaemin keyed his comms. Nothing but static. They've cut us off, he muttered. She nodded. Which means you have about 3 minutes before they decide subtlety is inefficient. He laughed once, breathless. You always this calm? No, she said. I'm terrified. The honesty surprised him. Then why don't you sound like it? Because fear wastes oxygen. The vent above them burst open. A man dropped down, weapon raised. Jaemin fired first. The body hit the floor hard, eyes glassy, mouth open in surprise. She flinched, but only after. Jaemin saw that too. You've seen worse, he said quietly. She swallowed. I've survived worse. They moved again, deeper into the utility level. Pipes hissed overhead. Water dripped somewhere unseen. Another message chimed faintly from her pocket. Jaemin stopped. You have a device. So do you, she said. Mine just isn't on your network. She pulled it out reluctantly. The screen glowed dim blue. A single line of text appeared. Confirmation window, for minutes. Below it, a location pin blinked. This is a hunt, Jaemin said. Yes. And you're the prey. She looked at him. No. I'm the proof. Of what? That they failed. He stared at her. You're not making sense. She met his gaze, something heavy passing between them. You don't kill people like me unless you're afraid of what we know. Another gunshot echoed nearby. Jaemin grabbed her arm, pulling her behind a column as bullets tore into the metal where they'd been standing seconds earlier. Enough, he snapped. I need the truth. She looked at his hand on her arm. Then at his face. If I tell you, she said softly, you stop being neutral. I already crossed that line. No, she replied. You crossed a professional one. Not a moral one. More footsteps. Closer. He tightened his grip. Talk. Now. She inhaled slowly. My real name isn't Mara, she said. And I didn't end up on their list by accident. A grenade clinked across the floor. Jaemin shoved her hard behind a concrete support as the blast tore through the space, heat ripping the air from his lungs. When the ringing in his ears faded, he heard her coughing. He reached for her. She was bleeding, shrapnel embedded in her side, dark spreading through her clothes. Stay with me, he said. She laughed weakly. You sound like you care. I sound like someone who needs answers. She grimaced. You protect people for a living. Don't pretend this is new. He pressed his jacket against her wound. You're not just people. Her eyes searched his face as if weighing something. They trained me to disappear, she said hoarsely. To become noise. Then they realized I was learning faster than they could contain. Who is they? She shook her head. If I say it out loud, it becomes real for you. Another explosion rocked the level. Jaemin leaned closer, voice low and fierce. It's already real. She closed her eyes briefly. When she opened them, there was resolve there. They sent you to protect a lie, she said. And they sent them to erase the truth. He swallowed. Which is? She winced as he shifted his grip. That I walked away with something they can't get back. What? Footsteps thundered closer. Shouts in a language he recognized but hadn't heard in years. She gripped his wrist. Hard. Information that can burn entire networks, she whispered. And proof that loyalty is just another word for control. Jaemin stared at her. Outside, a voice boomed through a loudspeaker. "Co Jaemin," it called. "Hand her over. This doesn't concern you." He looked down at her. Bloodied. Calm. Watching him. Waiting. He realized then that this moment, this choice, was the real test. Not of her. Of him. He raised his head. This concerns me now, he said aloud. The footsteps stopped. Silence pressed in. She exhaled shakily. If you do this. He met her eyes. I know. A red dot appeared on the wall beside his head. Then another. And another. She whispered, almost sadly, they've decided. Jamin pulled her closer, shielding her with his body as the lights went out completely. In the darkness, he wondered. How many lives weighed the same as one truth? Darkness swallowed the utility level. Not silence, never silence. The building groaned under its own weight, vents rattling, distant alarms bleeding through concrete like a pulse that refused to die. Jamin didn't move. He waited. The red dots vanished. Footsteps shifted. Someone was repositioning. He leaned close to her ear. Can you stand? She shook her head once. Honest. Controlled. Then we don't run, he murmured. We disappear. He dragged a metal panel loose with his foot, exposing a shallow service trench barely wide enough for one body. Without ceremony, he lowered her into it, pressing her flat against the cold concrete. Don't breathe loud, he whispered. She gave a faint, humorless smile. You're terrible at comforting people. He almost replied. Boots thundered past. Flashlights sliced through darkness, beams jittery now, less confidence, more impatience. They know your name, a voice echoed. Calm. Amplified. They know where you learned. They know what you took. Jamin kept his hand over her mouth, just enough pressure to steady her breathing. The voice continued. This doesn't need to be violent. She tensed beneath his hand. He felt it. They're lying, she whispered against his palm. I know, he murmured. A flashlight beam paused inches from the trench. A shadow fell across them. Jamin held his breath. Then, movement above. A sudden scuffle. A curse. Gunfire erupted down the corridor. The beam vanished. Jamin exhaled slowly. He pulled her out as quietly as he'd put her in. Her knees buckled immediately, pain finally asserting itself. He caught her before she hit the ground. You're bleeding more, he said. I'm aware. Can you walk? For a little while. That's all we need. They moved through a side passage barely marked on the original schematics. He recognized it only because it wasn't where it should have been. Someone had built this place to hide. As they moved, she spoke quietly, voice low but steady. You didn't have to do that back there. Yes, I did. No, she corrected. You could have stepped aside. He didn't answer. They reached a reinforced door. Locked. Manual override required. Jamin pried it open with effort, muscles screaming. Beyond it, an old operations room. Dusty. And used. Safe for now. He laid her down gently on a metal table. Tore open a medical kit from the wall. She watched him work, fingers quick, precise. You've done this before, she said. I've done worse. She winced as he removed shrapnel. Didn't cry out. Who trained you? He asked. She hesitated. Then, the same people who taught you loyalty. He looked up sharply. That doesn't answer anything. It answers everything. He taped the wound efficiently. Tight. Clean. There, he said. You won't bleed out. But you'll hurt. I'm already hurting. Their eyes met. Something unspoken passed between them. Recognition. Not trust, but alignment. Outside the room, the building shook again. They're sealing floors now, she said. They'll start collapsing sections. To force us upward. Yes. And the roof. Extraction point, she replied. For them. Jamin leaned back against the table. You planned for this. I planned for being hunted, she said. Not for being protected. Is that a mistake? She studied him. I don't know yet. He rubbed a hand over his face. You said you walked away with something. Yes. What is it? She closed her eyes briefly. When she opened them, the humor was gone. A ledger, she said. Names. Transactions. Black budgets. Proof of who really controls what they pretend not to. Jamin's stomach dropped. That kind of information gets countries destabilized. That kind of information already has, she replied. They just don't want it traced back. You were part of it? I was adjacent, she said. Until I wasn't. A pause. And you ran. I left. Difference. I didn't take the power, she said. I took the evidence. The implications settled heavy between them. Outside, the amplified voice returned, closer now. You're making this difficult, CO Jamin. He stiffened. They don't usually use my name, he said. They do when they want something personal. The voice continued. You've built a reputation on neutrality. On control. Don't ruin it for someone who won't survive this. Jamin stepped toward the door, anger tightening his chest. She's already survived, he said aloud. That should tell you something. Laughter crackled over the speakers. It tells us you're compromised. Silence. Then, last offer. Step aside. Jamin looked back at her. She didn't plead. Didn't beg. She simply said, if you hand me over, they'll kill me. If you don't, they'll burn your world down. He nodded slowly. Fair trade. He moved to the console, powering up systems that hadn't been touched in years. What are you doing? She asked. Calling in a favor. From who? From someone who owes me their life. The screen flickered. A connection tried to form, then failed. Signals jammed, he muttered. Outside, the sounds changed. No more searching. No more shouting. Just the steady, deliberate rhythm of preparation. They're done negotiating, she said softly. Yes. He turned to her. Can you move? She pushed herself upright, pain etched across her face, but she stood. I didn't survive this long to lie down now. He almost smiled. They moved toward the emergency exit on the far side of the room. He punched the override. Nothing. She tried another panel. Dead. Power's gone, she said. On purpose. The ceiling above them creaked. Dust fell like ash. They're collapsing the level, she said. Jamin pulled her close as the floor trembled. If we go up, we die, she said. If we stay. The floor dropped out beneath them. They fell hard, the world spinning, air ripping from lungs. Jamin hit first, pain exploding through his side. She landed on top of him, breath knocked out, a sharp cry torn free despite her control. Debris rained down. Darkness swallowed them again. For a long moment, neither moved. Then she laughed. Soft. Disbelieving. You really are terrible at choosing the easy option. He coughed. I never trusted easy. She shifted, wincing. You could still leave. He looked at the ceiling, now a jagged ruin. Not anymore. Sirens wailed faintly above them. She rested her head back against the concrete, eyes closed. Then there's something you need to know, she said. He turned his head toward her. What? Her voice dropped, heavy with truth. They're not trying to kill me anymore. His breath caught. Why not? She opened her eyes. Because killing me won't erase what I know. A new sound echoed through the darkness. Not boots. Not gunfire. Something mechanical. Descending. Jamin tightened his grip on his weapon. She whispered, now they're trying to take me alive. The sound grew louder. Metal on metal. A low hydraulic whine. Controlled. Patient. Jamin pushed himself upright despite the pain flaring through his ribs. The fall had stolen his breath, but not his clarity. He checked his weapon. One magazine left. She noticed. You always count, she said. It's a habit. Then you already know this ends badly. He glanced at her. I know it ends. The darkness above them shifted as a circular platform descended through the broken ceiling, lights mounted beneath it slicing through the dust. Shadows leapt across concrete walls. A retrieval unit. Not soldiers. Not assassins. Collectors. They changed tactics fast, Jamin muttered. They do when violence becomes inefficient. The platform stopped 10 meters above the ground. A cable dropped. Then another. Voices followed. Calm. Professional. Target is alive. Confirmed. Jamin tightened his grip around her wrist. When they reach the ground, they'll use stun first. They won't fire unless you move, she said. That's generous of them. They don't want collateral damage, she replied. You're still collateral. He snorted quietly. Lucky me. She shifted closer to him, lowering her voice. If they take me, you walk away. That's not happening. It has to. He turned sharply. You think this ends with you in a room and me outside? It ends with you alive, she said. That matters. To who? She hesitated. Then softly to me. That landed harder than any explosion. The cables hit the ground. Boots followed. 6 of them this time. Faces covered. Movements synchronized. One of them raised a hand. "Co Jamin, step back." Jamin didn't move. "She'll come with us," the man continued. "You'll be escorted out unharmed." She leaned toward Jamin. "They're telling the truth." "I know." "Then don't make this worse." He looked at her. Really looked. Blood on her sleeve. Dirt in her hair. Eyes still sharp, still unbroken. "You said you took evidence," he said. "Where is it?" A pause. "Not here," she answered. "That's not an answer. It's the only safe one." The men advanced another step. "Last warning," the leader said. Jamin raised his weapon slowly, not at them. At the ceiling controls. The leader reacted instantly. "No." Jamin fired. The ceiling rig sparked violently. The platform lurched, alarm screaming. The cables whipped, one snapping loose and crashing into the ground. Chaos. Smoke filled the space. Lights flickered. Jamin grabbed her hand and ran. They didn't have far to go. A secondary tunnel yawned open to their left, half collapsed but passable. They dove into it as stun rounds crackled through the air, electricity biting concrete inches from their feet. They ran blind, coughing, hearts hammering. Behind them, boots thundered again. "They're faster," she gasped. "They always are." The tunnel narrowed sharply. Water pooled underfoot. Debris scraped skin. She stumbled. Jamin caught her, hauling her up without slowing. "You can't carry me forever," she said. "I don't plan to." They burst out into an open service chamber, wider, darker, lined with dormant machinery. An exit glimmered faintly on the far side. Hope. Brief. Dangerous. A figure stepped into their path. Unarmed. Calm. Older than the rest. He raised his hands slightly. "We don't need to keep doing this." She stopped. Jamin felt it instantly, the change in her. "You know him," he said. "Yes." The man smiled faintly. "Hello." Her voice went flat. "You weren't supposed to be here." "I wasn't," he agreed. "But you made yourself difficult to ignore." Jamin angled his weapon. "Move." The man didn't look at him. His eyes stayed on her. "You really thought you could walk away with it?" "I didn't walk," she said. "I disappeared." "And yet," he replied, "here we are." She laughed once. No humor. "You always did hate losing. You always did confuse defiance with freedom." Jamin stepped closer to her. "Who is he?" She didn't answer immediately. "He's the reason I ran," she said finally. "And the reason they can't kill me." The man nodded. "Because killing you doesn't erase the record." "Record." Jamin's chest tightened. "You copied it." "I fragmented it," she said. "Distributed it." "Insurance." The man's smile faded slightly. "You always were thorough." The air hummed as more figures appeared at the chamber's edges. Surrounded again. The man spread his hands. "Come with us willingly. No more damage. No more bodies." Jamin felt her hand tense in his. "If you go," he said quietly, "they won't let you disappear again." "I know. And if you don't?" She met his eyes. "Then everyone connected to me dies." Silence fell heavy between them. The man watched them closely. "You care now," he said to her. "That's new." She didn't look away from Jamin. "It's inconvenient." Jamin swallowed. "Is this the part where you tell me to let go?" She nodded once. "I won't." "I didn't ask," she replied. "I'm telling you." Before he could react, she stepped forward, out of his grip. "Don't," he snapped. She turned back to him, eyes steady. "You protected me when you didn't have to," she said. "Now let me do the same." The man gestured. 2 guards moved in instantly, securing her arms. Jamin raised his weapon. 10 weapons aimed back at him. The man spoke calmly. "This ends one of 2 ways." She looked at Jamin. "You survive," she said. "That's the condition." His jaw clenched. "You're making a mistake." She smiled faintly. "No. I'm choosing." The guards pulled her toward the platform. She didn't struggle. That hurt more than if she had. As they reached the lift, she spoke one last time, voice carrying. "The ledger isn't the weapon," she said. "The question is who's brave enough to read it." The platform began to rise. Jamin stood frozen, weapon still raised, as the darkness swallowed her again. The man lingered. "You should walk away now," he advised. "This isn't your war." Jamin lowered his gun slowly, then said, very quietly, "You took the wrong person." The man arched a brow. Jamin met his gaze. "You think this ends because you captured her," he said. "But now I know." The man's smile vanished. "What do you know?" Jamin's voice hardened. "Where to look." Alarm screamed again, different this time. The man turned sharply. Jamin didn't wait. He ran. The city greeted him like nothing had happened. Morning traffic crawled. Coffee steamed from paper cups. Screens blinked with ordinary news. No mention of underground collapses. No alerts about missing people. That was how he knew she was gone. Not dead. Erased. Jamin stood on a rooftop 3 blocks from the extraction site, coat open to the wind, watching a helicopter disappear into the low clouds. The sound faded quickly. Too quickly. He hadn't followed. That was the part that stayed with him. He lowered himself onto the concrete ledge and exhaled slowly, counting his breaths the way he'd been trained to after a mission went wrong. 1, 2, 3. His calms buzzed. He didn't answer immediately. When he finally did, the voice on the other end was cautious. Respectful. Afraid. "Sir, you're being asked to report in." "By who?" A pause. "Everyone." He almost smiled. The safe house he retreated to wasn't on any official map. It was the kind of place built for men who needed to disappear without being missed. 1 room. 1 window. 1 burner phone left on the table like a test. He ignored it for hours. Instead, he replayed everything. Her calm under fire. The way she never wasted words. The moment she stepped forward without hesitation, not to save herself, but to contain the damage. She had called it a choice. He wondered how many times she'd made the same one before. Night fell again. The phone vibrated. This time, it wasn't a call. It was a message. No sender. No timestamp. Just a string of numbers. Coordinates. Jamin stared at them for a long time. Then he smiled. "Of course," he murmured. "You planned for this too." The location led him to an abandoned data relay station on the edge of the city, old infrastructure, officially decommissioned, unofficially humming with quiet power. The kind of place no one looked at twice. Inside, dust coated the equipment, but the core terminal glowed softly, waiting. He didn't hesitate. The screen lit up. A prompt appeared. Authorization required. Below it, a single line of text. "Trust is a liability. Curiosity is not." He typed. The system accepted him instantly. Files bloomed across the screen, networks, transactions, names that shouldn't coexist on the same page. Corporations. Governments. Black operations stitched together by money and silence. The ledger. He felt it then, the weight she'd been carrying. Not just evidence. Responsibility. Another message appeared. This one shorter. "I told you the weapon wasn't the information." He swallowed. "What was it then?" he asked the empty room. The screen changed. A live feed opened. She sat in a white room. No restraints. No visible injuries. Clean. Composed. Very much alive. She looked straight into the camera. "Hello, Jamin." His breath caught. "You knew I'd find this." "I hoped," she said. "There's a difference. You're a prisoner." She shook her head. "No. I'm leverage. You let them take you." "Yes. You said they wouldn't let you disappear again." "They won't," she agreed. "But they also won't let me die." He leaned closer to the screen. "Why show me this?" "Because now you understand the scale," she replied. "And because I needed to know if you'd look. And if I hadn't? Then I misjudged you." That stung more than he expected. "Are you safe?" he asked. She hesitated. "I'm alive," she said carefully. "Safety is relative." A shadow passed behind the glass wall of her room. "Someone watching. Always." "They know you access the ledger," she continued. "They expected it. Then why give it to me?" She met his gaze. "Because power doesn't fear exposure. It fears interpretation." He frowned. "You want me to release this?" "I want you to decide," she said. "That's the difference between control and choice. If I leak it, people die. Yes. If I don't, nothing changes. Yes. Silence stretched between them. I didn't ask for this, he said quietly. She smiled faintly. Neither did I. A warning tone chimed on his screen. Connection ending. You don't have much time, she said. They'll come for you soon. Not to kill you. To recruit you. Not interested. They'll make it interesting. The feed began to fade. Why me? He asked quickly. Out of everyone, you chose me. Her image flickered. Because you protected a lie, she said. Then chose to protect a person instead. The screen went black. Jamin sat there long after the terminal powered down. Outside, sirens wailed in the distance. Somewhere else. Someone else's problem. He stood slowly. The burner phone vibrated on the table beside him. Unknown number. He answered. CO Jamin, a smooth voice said. You've been difficult to ignore. I get that a lot. We understand you've come into possession of sensitive material. He glanced at the dark screen. Possession implies ownership, he replied. I'd say I'm more of a reader. A soft chuckle. Readers rarely live long. Then stop talking, he said. And start listening. Silence. Then, what do you want? Jamin thought of her. Alone. Watched. Unbroken. I want options, he said. For both of us. The call ended without an answer. He stepped out onto the balcony as dawn crept across the skyline, city lights blinking out one by one. A new day pretending to be innocent. In his pocket, the data drive felt heavier than any weapon he'd ever carried. He could burn empires. He could save lives. He could do nothing and let the world keep turning. He looked out over the city, thinking of a woman who had chosen to become a constant threat rather than a temporary casualty. And he asked himself the question she had left him with. If the truth destroys everything you know, is it still your responsibility to reveal it? If this story stayed with you, subscribe to AFROSEOUL Tales for more stories that live in the gray areas where power, loyalty, and choice collide.